Hi everyone, I am Montecer, and today we're going to discuss communication processes, principles, and globalization. So let me start with communication and its meaning. Communication came from a Latin term communicare, which means to share. It is the act of conveying meaning to a person or group of people using mutually understood symbols, gestures, behaviors, and semiotic rules. So let me give you an example for each one of these. Number one, in the public toilet, through symbols that they put outside the door or at the entrance of the room, they already inform us which one is for the male and which one is for the female. Number two, gestures. With a simple nod, smile, or hand wave, we can actually greet each other, especially when we're far away from each other. Number three, behavior. It can be submissive, aggressive, compliant, or assertive. Like when somebody is talking and you're not listening and you sigh a lot, you are sending message that you're not interested or you are bored or you don't like the topic. So we have to be careful with our behavior as it can be misinterpreted sometimes because of our actions and reactions. Now, let's proceed to communication processes. Communication processes, it is the process by which people transmit information, share verbal and non-verbal messages, and creates meaning with each other. It is divided into three basic components. First is the sender, where the thoughts and ideas came from. Channel, second one, it can be written or spoken. And the third one is the receiver who receives the message. Now, information theorists have added somewhat more complicated language. Developing message is known as encoding, and interpreting message is referred as to decoding. So, communication clearly defines as sending and receiving message. There must be a sender who sends the message and the receiver who listen or receive the message. Okay, now let's move on to principles of communication. It is an acquired skills that can be learned and developed. It is important to know the principles of communication to attain such an effective communication. So here are the 7 important principles of communication. Number one, clarity. Words should be spelled properly and arranged in such way that the receiver will understand as the sender means. And pronunciation should be clear, including enunciation to avoid misconception. Number two, principle of attention. To understand what the sender means, the receiver should pay attention to the emotion, behavior, values, and gesture so they may respond properly to the message. Number three, feedback. It is important to provide feedback once communication takes place. It signifies that the communication is effective. Number four, principle of informality. There are times that formal communication may not accomplish and desired results. So informal communication can be effective in some situation. For example, you saw your boss in a public place and you want to greet him. So you better apply informal communication by simply saying hi or hello instead of saying good morning or good afternoon, sir, because you're in a public place, not in the office. Number 5, consistency. To achieve consistent result, we must be consistent in our way we communicate. For example, you used to call your boss for important matters and you only send message for a simple information. So you have to stick with it. You don't have to change the way you communicate with your boss to strengthen the relationship between the boss and you, the employee. Number 6, timeliness. When the receiver is not ready to accept or hear the message, it is therefore not the right time to convey message. For example, you want to ask your boss for a vacation leave and he's not in a good mood that time. So, you have to wait for right timing to tell him your request for you to have the positive response. Number 7, adequacy. It is important to deliver adequate message at all times to avoid confusion. For example, you ask your agent to sell your house and lot, and for him to know the details about the property, you have to tell him the exact address, the price that you want, how big it is, and some more important information about the property, so that it is easier for him to answer when the interested clients ask. So giving enough information can make the transactions easier. Now, let's talk about communication and globalization. Communication and globalization are usually connected with each other. Globalization is the process by which people in the world are unified and act as one society. In order to have globalization, a person has to know the universal language, which is, in most cases, English is the language that connects us to globalization. Many parents push their children to learn English language or other dominant language because they believe it will give their children advantage in global world. The term globalization in culture view is the process of transmission of ideas, meanings, values, and cultures around the world in such way as to extend and intensify social relations. This is why it is important to know the purpose of communication. In that way, one can develop their skills in communicating and with communicating with people with different cultures and languages. And that's all for our today's topic. Communication processes, principles, and globalization. Hope you find it informative. Thank you.